Gender is something we hear a lot about in our work. It is an important part of global development as well. Thinking about gender helps us to understand how society and power structures impact on the lives and opportunities available to different groups of men and women. For example, globally, more women than men live in poverty. Women are also less likely than men to receive basic education and to be appointed to a political position nationally and internationally. Understanding that men and women, boys and girls experience poverty differently and face different barriers in accessing services, resources, and political opportunities helps us to target our interventions. At a personal level, gender is part of a wide spectrum and can also influence how we access, engage with, and use products like the FC2. Welcome to episode 4. This episode will explore gender, how gender has the potential to either accelerate or slow down our work, why engaging men and boys is becoming increasingly important on the global landscape, how gender impacts access to the FC2, how one woman has relied on the FC2 to keep her family the ideal size for her and her husband, and we will also hear from a young man who uses the FC2 to keep things exciting. I am Buhle Mabaso, and this is the FC2 Masterclass series. Serra Sippel is the president of Change, the Center for Health and Gender Equity. Serra speaks about some practical examples on how the women and girls that Change works with were empowered with information on the FC2.
Change's chief researcher met with a group of young girls and women and asked them what they learned from the Dreams program there. And one young woman raised her hand and enthusiastically proclaimed how she had learned about female condoms, and not only how to what female condoms were from a textbook, but she actually saw one and they actually taught her how to insert it, and she felt so proud that she had this knowledge and knew how to use female condoms as a tool to not only prevent HIV infection but also to prevent unwanted pregnancy.
Judy Palmore is the Senior Education and Partnerships Manager for the Female Health Company. Judy shares her thoughts on engaging men, the diversity of communities that rely on the FC2 for protection from HIV and STIs, and the role of pleasure in a gender discussion about the FC2.
Engaging men and boys in FC2 outreach and education. I'll start by talking about what I think we are doing really well. In our provider education, we have a lot of information and education about how the FC2 is a great option for men as well. And the biggest selling point for men would be pleasure. There aren't many people who are going to argue against pleasure. The FC2 female condom is a great option for men, and not only protecting themselves and their partner, but increasing pleasure. So let me just name a few. There are quite a lot, but I'll name a few. The first is when you unroll an FC2 female condom, it's the same length as a male condom, but it's wider. And a lot of men like this. It's not constricting on the penis like a male condom is. But many men, when they put a condom on, a male condom on, they'll lose their erection. With a female condom, she is wearing the condom, not him. Another pleasure positive aspect of the FC2 female condom is that an erection is not required. It sounds like a funny kind of commercial, no erection required, but it's true. So if a gentleman, for whatever reason, has a hard time getting an erection, she's wearing the condom so he can actually penetrate in the beginning, and then the erection will come. And he doesn't have to withdraw every time he loses his erection and take off a male condom and put another one on. Again, she is wearing the condom, so he can keep going until he gets the erection back. Even if he loses the erection during sexual intercourse, he can keep going until the erection returns. So these are all pleasure or positive aspects. Another pleasure or positive aspect that I've heard men say is that it's sexy that she's wearing the condom. And so that can be interesting in a relationship. And so in training, when we work with providers, this big light bulb goes off like, oh yeah, this is a great product for men too. So we know that they're going back and they're talking with their communities, they're talking with men about the FC2 and how it's for you too, gentlemen. We know that's trickling down from the provider trainings, and we're very proud of that. Going forward, what could we do more of? Well, we could definitely do more in our marketing. And we hear this from guys all the time. Stop calling it the female condom. In the US, this is what we call it. There are standards by the Food and Drug Administration whereby we have to label it the same as it was approved, which is FC2 female condom. But we know there are many partners out there that are calling it receptive condom or insertive condom or other creative things. And partners are absolutely excited to do that, and we applaud them for their creativity. So even though you see FC2 female condom on our box, it's not just for females, it's for men as well. Another thing we could do going forward, in addition to changing our marketing material to be more male-centered and more male celebratory, is to partner with organizations worldwide, NGOs and community-based organizations that focus on men and boys and male health, and bring them to the table and ask them, how can we be more inclusive of men? How can you help us put this tool into the hands of men and women who want and need it, and for whom it will do a lot of good and bring about a good bit of pleasure.
Reverend Bafana Khumalo is an award-winning gender justice activist and co-founder of Sonke Gender Justice. He speaks about supporting health-seeking behavior in men, why keeping men healthy not only benefits men, but also those around them.
We have a challenge with men accessing health services generally because we are growing up in an environment where men generally do not take good care of their health. We live in an environment where showing a sign of weakness, like going for help in healthcare facilities, is seen as a weakness in this patriarchal society. In South Africa, for instance, we were confronted with a situation where most men die from infection from HIV needlessly in an environment where we have treatment. And part of the reason for that is that men present late, men don't go to test. Even those who do go to test don't go back for their results. And so we have to find a way of getting men to the health facilities so that indeed they can access the services. Because we know that men who access services earlier can live longer. And this is very, very important. We also know that when people present themselves and test for other ailments related to lifestyle, like diabetes, high blood pressure, it makes a huge difference in how they live their lives when they have now discovered what may possibly be a challenge for them. And these are the issues that I think we need to consider. We are aware also that in HIV, the disease is presenting younger women from the ages of 15 to 25 as having the highest rate of infection. And yet the representation of people who die from HIV is that of men from the ages of 30 to 49. And this is related directly to the fact that men do not access HIV services earlier, broadly because men do not go to health services when they are sick. And so we need to have messages that speak directly to men. Why is this the problem? Some of the challenges as we speak to men relate to the fact that access to these services is very difficult for men. Most men are in jobs during the day, and in this economic environment, it sometimes is difficult to even take time off to go to a clinic. So we need to rethink how we provide health services so that we can reach out to men. Is it possible, for instance, to have mobile services that go to where men are in their workplaces. Because most men complain, they knock off late, clinics are closed. On Saturdays, when they have some time out, clinics are not open. So we need to find an innovative solution to this problem, which will include bringing services closer to where men are. In part of the work that we are doing as Sonke Gender Justice, we've just signed up with the taxi industry to mobilize them to engage on issues of gender-based violence. But as part of that is also to encourage men in this sector who are predominant in their representation, that they must also begin to look at issues of health, their own health, and how these can be brought back to where the taxi drivers are. Taxi drivers spend most of their time behind the steering wheel in taxi ranks and go back home, in many instances, very late in the evening. And so we're going to be seeking with other partners to mobilize facilities so that they can be brought closer to where these men are. And I think it will have very huge spin-offs for the health outcomes of these men as they begin to access these services. And part of the facilitation that we'll be doing with them is also enabling them to understand HIV, understand the technologies that we have to prevent HIV, including condom use, and ensuring that they use it properly and consistently. So we'll be taking these to the taxi ranks, providing the necessary training and ensuring that there's a constant supply of these commodities where these men are.
Dr. Samukeliso Dube is the founder of Calex Africa and is a long-term advocate for the health and economic rights of women and girls. Dr. Dube speaks about the role of health systems to ensure the sustainability of the FC2 globally and the socio-economic dynamics that hinder or accelerate access.
Since women and men are wired differently, they are bound to behave differently when it comes to healthcare-seeking behaviors. By the very nature that women have to reproduce, they have got a uterus, they've got health needs that are different from men, their health-seeking behavior, they are likely to interface with the healthcare system at one point in their own lives. Particularly, we know that we often get hold of women when they come to a clinic or a healthcare facility when they are pregnant, and therefore they are likely to go to a healthcare facility because they are women. Women tend to interface with the healthcare system more often than men. But also biologically, we know that it may not be easy for women to use some of the available methods, and that's why when we advance, particularly empowerment around female condoms, around male condoms, it actually puts power back in the hands of women around barrier methods. It is important, once again, that in our quest to find HIV prevention, we look at access issues. And access is not a singular issue where one would solely go out there to look for access for HIV prevention. Access exists within a health system. Access exists within communities that are strengthened to look for that access. So we need to make sure that this woman is able to access a healthcare facility, particularly a primary healthcare facility, and where it's not available, she is able to be referred to a secondary and consequently tertiary healthcare facility. So advancing women's health calls all of us as a global health community to strengthen health systems, particularly revisiting Alma Ata in 1978 that say that if you don't strengthen primary health care, you will not build resilient health system. And that is key for a female condom. That is key that we make sure that we are part and parcel of this journey to build resilient health systems, so that ultimately at the other end of the spectrum, a woman who accesses a clinic is able to also access a female condom. Socioeconomic dynamics is actually, those are two words in one, social and economic. So I'll start with the social. Social, we talk about social capital. Social capital, the people who are around me, the community that exists around me, does it empower me well enough to seek healthy reproductive options? For example, a female condom. Social capital for a woman, largely, especially in most of low resource settings, means sisters, it means friends, it represents your mother-in-law. If I make a choice, if I decide that what I want is one child, I don't want to breastfeed, I do not want to have a child, I want to use this particular method of family planning, it's my choice. Can she empower me? Can she support me in those decisions that I want to make with my life around reproductive health? That's what we term social capital, and it exists in this phrase, socio-economic advancement of women. But that cannot be divorced to economic opportunities, because once you are empowered economically, and what does that mean to be empowered economically? It means that financially I am able to make choices, I am able, with my money, I am able to actually advance myself and to the full potential that is within me, and to the realization that I can contribute as a woman to the advancement of an economy in the country. And how does that happen? If you look at woman as the unit of analysis here, it's about the opportunities that she has been given when she was young to be able to play in the economic stratosphere. This actually then empowers her to buy healthcare, to access healthcare, including the very topic that we're discussing today about women's health, particularly a female condom. If you're not empowered to make those choices, you won't even get to that strata of negotiating or even accessing a female condom. You know where to buy it because you are socioeconomically empowered. There are people around you who are likely to say, yes, this is where you can get hold of it, and this is how much you can pay for it. So socioeconomic advancement of women actually becomes key in accessing every HIV or even reproductive health technology that we advance as a scientific community.
Lucinda van den Heever is an LGBTI activist who coordinates a regional campaign that focuses on sexual orientation and gender identity. Lucinda speaks about some of the challenges she faced in accessing her sexual and reproductive health rights as a young African lesbian. Lucinda also makes a long-standing call to get the FC2 approved for anal sex. While the FC2 is not approved for anal use, advocates globally have for many years used the FC2 in their programs that target same-sex couples and the LGBTI community in general.
As a young lesbian woman, it was quite difficult to get information, particularly around safe sex, and particularly around having sex with women. And today there's a lot more options. There's the FC2 female condom, and if I look back today, I wish that there were more options when I was younger. But thank God that it is there today. Because as a young lesbian woman, it is really scary when you don't have anyone to speak to, when you're confronted with issues of HIV and you have no idea how to protect yourself. And you put yourself at risk through having unprotected sex because either it is not available at all, you don't know where to get it, you know that there's lots of stigma and discrimination and violence in the community. You know that being a lesbian or being gay or being transgender is not acceptable in society. So it can be a very lonely place, trying to find out information. And I remember the first time I had to go for an HIV test because there was also lots of talk about HIV at that time, and many people were dying. And going for an HIV test is really scary because number one, you know that you've had unprotected sex. You have no idea what information you require, and going to sit with a clinic nurse and not at first being really afraid to say actually I am a lesbian woman. And there are assumptions that you you know, that you have a male partner or you have a boyfriend, and that is not the case for you at all. It's a very difficult place to be in, to have that courage to say, well, actually I have a female partner, or I'm having sex with women, you know, and having to face, you know, sitting with a nurse or a doctor who does not know how to deal with this at all, or maybe even giving you the proper information to help you to prevent that. I wish that there was, you know, that there was more information out there, and that we had access to female condoms, particularly the FC2 condom, which is available right now, you know, and all people can use it. You can use it for anal sex, you can use it for vaginal sex. All people of different sexual orientations can use it, and it's not as limiting as maybe dental dams or condoms. So that's the great thing about FC2. Even though those things are still available, I think there should be a stronger campaign around this. It should be in all of the schools. This kind of information should be in all of the schools. It should be, this information should be available in all of the communities, in all of the clinics, and it should just be a normal part of speaking about sexuality and gender. You know, because everyone has a human right to have access to female condoms, and other HIV prevention methods, which will protect them from STIs and HIV. And so I particularly do this work because it's very close to my heart, because I feel that in the generation today, you know, we really need to advocate very strongly for this, you know, so that more people can have access to these HIV prevention methods, because it will be life-saving. And I wouldn't like to see where there are still young LGBT people who are still struggling to get this information, and it's really, really critical, I think, for the health and the well-being of everyone. So currently the FC2 has not been approved for anal sex, but we know that globally the FC2 is used a lot by men who have sex with men for anal sex, and gay men, and this is really important. I think that it's critical that we look at the FC2 being approved for anal sex, because the FC2 condom is so versatile and it can be used by anyone, and with the high rates of HIV amongst MSM and gay men, I think it is critical that the FC2 is approved for anal sex.
Yumna Hattas is a child rights activist who speaks about the role of FC2 in family planning in general and in her marriage in particular. We also get to meet her amazing daughters.
Well, I think personally, in terms of reproductive choices, I think it's, as an individual, I've not had as many choices when I was growing up and being able to make these decisions. But as I matured and got to learn about it, and actually got to learn the value of being able to do that, I think, yeah, I make full use of it. I am married with 3 beautiful daughters, and I have a husband, and we continually make these decisions. I mean, we've had to make these decisions with regard to having our children, but also after having our children, I think there's a role for making reproductive choices and then making decisions around quality of life. And not that children hinders one's life. I think they bring a lot of joy to our lives, and we've grown a lot through our children. But I think making informed decisions around what we have as resources and what we want to be able to offer and give real choices to our children influences kind of the decision making that we have around the number of children we have. Some people like big families, some people like small families, and I think that the fact that we can make these choices, which not many people knew that they could, makes it so much easier to be able to make life choices. And reproductive choices such as contraception, sterilization, the female condom, male condoms, all play a key role in this process. It might sound like commodities to others, but these are the key roles. These are actually the key tools in these decision-making processes. For me, I have 3 daughters.
My name is Mithal and I am 9 years old. My name is Serra and I am 11 years old. My name is Yashva and I'm 12 years old.
At this point in time, all 3 of my daughters would be married, and that's a choice I don't want my children to have right now. And it's not a choice that I'm making that they can't make, but it's a choice that I make for them because I'm doing it in the interest of them, of their good being, of their health, of their well-being. Female condoms, in comparison with male condoms, I think gives more choices to a young woman, because not only is she then dependent on asking someone else to protect her through using a male condom and asking a male to put on a condom, but she has the choice. She puts it on herself, she decides when she wants to put it on, she depends on where she wants to put it on. She doesn't have to wait for someone to do that for her. She actually takes control of her reproductive choice. And I think that is probably one of the most empowering tools or mechanisms or choices for a young girl, for a woman in particular, with regard to her own sexuality, rather than being dependent on someone else making that choice or being at risk of being abused because she has to wait and request someone else to put on that condom. And yeah, so I think definitely a female condom has an empowering edge and a place in society for women and girls. Yeah, so just in terms of myself personally, I think you can never speak to and advise people around, for example, using the FC2 condom use without using it yourself or being in a position where you can speak from a point of knowing. And in my relationship, and I'll be open about it, post having my children, I've had a sterilization, but my husband and I rely on using condoms. And it's a point of exchange between the two of us. We move between the different types of condoms, but I think the FC2 gives us that opportunity to make that choice that between using different condoms. The FC2 is part of our sexual activity, part of our sexual behavior, and I think we are comfortable with using the FC2. It allows me, it allows for diversity, it allows me to make the choice. And I think it adds some excitement to our relationship, and we probably will continue using this product for as long as we possibly can, as long as it's around, and whatever new versions of it that can come, but more innovation that comes out of it. But yes, I think the FC2 is an essential part of my relationship with my husband and in the choices that we make from a reproductive perspective.
Bonga Matu is a young father who relies on the FC2 to not only plan his family, but to keep things exciting.
I'm a father of 1. My daughter is a 5-year-old. I love her dearly. When I look at my daughter, I actually see something or someone to live for. And for now, I would like to keep it at that. I want her to enjoy time with me. I think I'll wait until she's about 13 until I can maybe start and try to make another baby, which the female condom kind of gives us that option. My girlfriend and I have been now together for 8 years. The first time we made contact with the FC2 is when our relationship was still fresh and we still had a thing that we don't want to have children. We just want to have fun, we just want to be intimate without having to worry about pregnancies, STIs and all of that. So this one day we decided to take a walk and we went to the local clinic. The aim there was actually for me to pick up the male condoms, but when I got there, the nurse advised that we take these two, which was kind of strange because I mean, I'm a guy and I'm from the township, and as a guy, we told that you're the head and you're in control. So now having a girlfriend, now having an option, I mean, just for a woman to have a male condom in her purse is a big thing. Now she has one that's specifically made for her. It kind of took me by shock, but I'm a person that I would say I'm open-minded, and we tried it and it opened new possibilities. It's fun. Like I said, it's been 8 years now, so it's that thing, it has that element of rekindling the spark. I love the FC2 because it's not as tight as the male condom, and it allows you space to actually, you know, do things. And there's that inner ring which does things, you know, it takes you there. It does things that the male condom doesn't do. The nice thing about the FC2 is that it's not a thing of her having to put it in herself all the time, but you can actually put it on yourself and yeah, do the thing.
As you've just heard from Bonga, there are so many ways that the FC2 adds to the pleasure of sex while getting on with the serious business of protection. We hope you have enjoyed this episode on gender and the FC2 female condom. We covered a lot of ground: engaging men and boys, how strengthened health systems can contribute to awareness of and access to the FC2, the role that the FC2 plays within the LGBTI community, the family planning agenda, and of course, how Bonga has included the FC2 in the relationship he has with his partner. That's all for this episode. In the next episode, we will cover the essentials of using the FC2. I am Buhle Mabaso, and thank you for watching. The FC2 is available in these countries across the globe. For more information and to learn more about how we can support you, visit fc2femalecondom.com.